I'm always glad to talk about biodynamic farming and introduce this wonderful agriculture, this wonderful farming philosophy. So a few words to introduce the history of biodynamic. So biodynamic was born in the 1924 after some conferences where his founder, Rudolf Steiner, a big philosopher of last century, introduced this way of farming. So let's point out a little bit the period because it's really important. After the first global war, that you remember was the first chemical war, because for the first time were used the chemical weapons like nervine gas, nitroglycerins, and so on and so on. All this stuff, all these weapons were based on nitrogen, because a few years before, through the Haber-Bosch process, we learned how to fix nitrogen from atmosphere in ammoniac. So as usual, war boosts a lot of technology and science. So these discoveries were used to produce nitrogen weapons and then kill millions of people during the first global war. So what happened after the finish of after the end of the first global war? All the war industries were full of nitrogen stock, and thanks to another recent discovery from this chemical, this scientist Ludwig von Liebig, he discovered that plants nutrition is based on minerals. So all these nitrogen stock were converted in minerals, nitrogen salts as fertilizers. So it was the beginning of the chemical farming, of the industrial farming. All this nitrogen stock was converted in fertilizers, and in this way we started in that period this approach. So what happened? You have a little bit to figure out the farmer mentality of that period. So of course they noticed bigger, higher yields per hectare, because giving fertilizers the yields increased. But just figure out the sensibility in that period of these farmers. They immediately felt something wrong. So they immediately they immediately saw more diseases on the plants. They felt the plants were weaker after using fertilizers. The taste was different, because now we know when we buy industrial vegetables or we buy farmer vegetables, the taste is different. So just figure out the people tasting for the first time products that were fertilized with the new product, artificial products, instead of the typical and historical manure, compost, and so on. So they felt these differences, and they felt some negative effects. And they asked to Steiner, that was let's say a big guru of that period, to explain and find some solutions. That's why Steiner introduced the biodynamic. And look, the biodynamic movement historically was the first in Europe, because everything before chemical farming was organic, of course. But in terms of study, in terms of explanation, in terms of an alternative farming, biodynamic was born first. So we can say that later organic farming came as a simplified version of biodynamic. So what is biodynamic essentially? Steiner introduced the biodynamic as the farming approach of his philosophy called anthroposophy. It will be so long to explain anthroposophy, but just say that the holistic approach of the anthroposophy is totally transferred in the biodynamic farming. What means holistic? Now it's a really trendy word. What means? Having a full view, a full approach, a 360 view on the life. And biodynamic is absolutely a really holistic farming where we consider all the energies involved in all the cycles. So let's make an example. Plants. Sometimes we forget that plants are the only living being able to connect earth and sky. And then when we look on the vines, you can see really easily this image. So all plants are able to absorb water and minerals from the soil, from the earth, and make this incredible process, the photosynthesis, through the cosmic energy. So we don't have to be scared about saying cosmic, because now it seems when we talk about cosmic energy, we are going on something hippie, new age, magic, and so on. Nothing more real than cosmic. We live thanks to a star, so we are totally dependent by cosmic energy. So we are totally influenced by our star, the sun. Then we have influences from the moon, and we have also influences from all the cosmos. So the photosynthesis is an alchemic process able to transform cosmic energy in all the physical matter. All the green you see around were gas, carbon dioxide, so an etheric substance fixed by cosmic energy in something physical. So this approach is pure biodynamic. Consider the plants like the only living beings able to connect these two worlds, these two energy, earth and sky. So to explain all these processes, anthroposophy helps a lot, and everything can be, we can go deep in everything. This is the first difference with the normal organic agriculture, where there isn't any big philosophy behind. There were a lot of really important and founder of the organic agriculture. But right now, organic farming is just something where chemicals are not allowed. When biodynamic is a farming approach with a real explanation based on the Steiner philosophy, and everything is really well explained. So this is one difference with organic agriculture. The second difference is really practical, because Steiner during these conferences gave some recipes, some helps to the farmer in terms of preparations. So we have in biodynamic we use 7 different preparations, 5 for making compost and 2 for spraying the fields. All these preparations have the purpose to connect all the different energies in our farm. And this is another really important concept of biodynamic: grow the farm as a living organism. So we consider the whole farm like an organism. And of course, to be a healthy organism, all the organs need to be in balance, like all the living beings. That's why, for example, monoculture is totally forbidden, because it's something abnormal, is something with just a huge organ, a huge stomach, and so on. That's why biodynamic farms needs to be as much as possible polycultural. So this is the second difference in terms of practical stuff with organic farming, because the biodynamic preparation are just used in biodynamic agriculture. So just a short explanation of all the history and of the biodynamic farming. What is really interesting is the relationship with vines. So now biodynamic wines are more and more popular. Maybe because everything is eco-friendly now, is really trendy. So it's a normal marketing process and so on. But out of the different trends and so on, biodynamic works really, really well with viticulture, with vines. Why? Because the grape plant is a really particular plant. Is a really particular plant in terms of relationship with the environment. So when we talk about terroir, so we explain how the whole environment, so from the soil, the geology, the parent materials, and then the territory, so all the altitudes, exposure, weather, so rainfall, and so on, affects the wine quality, the grape quality, and then the wines. Then consider how many grapes we have all over the world. Just in Italy we count 1,200 different grapes. All these grapes variety were selected in thousands of years to achieve the best result of the different wine culture of the different territories. So we can understand how the grapes, the vines are sensible to the different variables of the terroir and the territory in general. So what happens? Matching biodynamic and vineyards is a really wonderful marriage, because in biodynamic we increase all these connections. First, having a really living soil. So for all the biodynamic farmer, the first purpose is enrich the soil vitality. So the biological fertility in terms of humus, organic matter, all the living beings, so fungus, yeast, microbes, all the different living beings, able to create this beautiful net with the roots of our plant. You have to consider the soil like a huge neural net where all the communication go fast between plants and microbes, fungus, and so on. So in biodynamic we know really well this concept, and our goal is to enrich this vitality. So in this rich soil, the roots of our vines can really thrive in harmony with the original and parent material of our terroir. So this is the first. And then let's think about what happens in conventional farming, in conventional viticulture, when we give fertilizers. Giving fertilizers, so giving few minerals, always the same in all over the world, excellent way to standardize the nutrition. giving a few the main minerals in terms of nitrogen salts, phosphorus salt, potassium, and the other elements, is a excellent way to don't boost the grapes to go deep with their roots and explore different soil layers and horizons and catch different minerals that really make the terroir and really make the taste of our grapes. So giving artificial fertilizer to our vines is a really no sense for express the terroir. Then when in conventional viticulture we kill everything with the herbicide, fungicide, insecticide and so on, we are killing and cutting the communication between vines and the environment. And this is a really important aspect for quality. Generally we can say that communication is important for all the living beings, including humans. So when we grow vines like in a desert, so we totally kill all the rest, we can achieve maybe the best results in terms of chemical, nutritional aspects and so on, but the grapes will be really poor in terms of energy and in terms of relationship with the environment and with the terroir. And since the first goal for all the winemakers, but especially for biodynamic winemaker, is make terroir wines, so unique wines, unique, we don't have to confuse unique as best wine, top rated on Wine Spectator and so on. We have just to target our work to make unique wines, terroir wines that are the real and the only expression of our terroir, our work, the vintage and so on. So the best way and the only way to achieve this goal is play with nature. And biodynamic is a really powerful method to boost this relationship between vines and the terroir. That's why biodynamic wines are more and more popular, because we can really feel the unicity of this expression, and that's why people are more and more appreciating this kind of farming approach. We will talk about winemaking in the cellar, because normally all the biodynamic wineries in the cellar, they have a total natural approach on fermentation, on winemaking and so on. Thank you.
That's great.